welcome everyone who's present here in BMC in Raipur and away from Raipur. So I feel privileged to be the one to welcome everyone for the happy occasion for the third anniversary of Balco Medical Center. We are honored to welcome our chief guest, Dr. R.A. Badwe, Director of Tata Memorial Center. But first, I would like to introduce a message from our chairperson, Mrs. Jyoti Agrawal. Mrs. Agrawal couldn't be with us in person today, so she has kindly sent a video message for us. Can we please start the video message now?
Please play the video.
Yeah.
Namaskar. Very warm welcome to all of you, the invited guests, Dr. Badwe. We are very proud to say today we have completed 3 years of Balco Medical Center. 3 years back on this day, it was a very auspicious day of Ram Navami. I can't believe that today we stand tall, lot of achievement, with lot of the best of the medical facilities what we could provide to this state of Chhattisgarh. Congratulations to my team, to my Balco medical family. First of all, let me say a few words about my team, my people, that I would like to appreciate the selflessness of service what they have provided in combating this difficult situation of pandemic of coronavirus without thinking about themselves to get the disease. They were selflessly working day in and day out, and we were the first hospital to test this corona. We were the first hospital to them the shelter in our hospital, to treat them into our hospital, and to do the plasma therapy. And way forward, we'll be the first hospital in the private sector to give vaccine to the entire population of Chhattisgarh as much as possible. So, in this second phase, we still have to play, Valco Medical Center has to play a very important and critical role that we fulfill as a human being to vaccinate the people and heal them to the population of Chhattisgarh. During the time of starting this hospital, we had certain vision in our mind to get the seeds of NABH were sowed, and today we are NABH accredited hospital, which is a very important achievement for my team of people who have done a lot of effort, and without which it was not possible. The doctors, their work, everything shows and proves that how successful they have done this difficult task of getting this accreditation, and today we can proudly stand as a number 3 cancer hospital in this country. Excellence doesn't happen overnight. It needs consistency and persistence. Today we plant another seed towards laying the foundation to make Chhattisgarh tobacco free, starting with the Khapri village. I also urge you all to think on avoidable cancers and how we can prevent unwarranted human suffering. This vision has always been there with our chairperson, with our chairman, Mr. Anil Agarwal. He is always looking forward in a very large way, talking about cancer-free society or talking about Nandghars for the malnutrition of our children, which is the future of our country, or talking about the ladies who bear these young children. So our chairman has always been looking at a very larger vision to how to make our country a cancer-free. We will try our best. We don't know how far we can succeed. It's a very big question mark to make it a cancer-free country with such a large population, but we'll definitely make it our contribution to the best of it. Another step, a classic example we can say about the cervical cancer, which can be prevented through vaccination. Breast cancer can be detected early through self-checks, and luckily we have opened one clinic in the Raipur city center, and and we want to increase this number of clinics to check up, to have a free, to have a checkup for the people who are suspicion of cancer or they want to have a medical checkup. They can come to our clinics. We want to multiply these clinics to all over the state of Chhattisgarh so that people are easily accessible for their at least their first round of test and checkup, and then they can do the remaining procedures and treatment in our hospital. So this is the way we want to go forward, where we can have a lot of medical presence in the state of, not only in the state of Chhattisgarh, but in the neighboring states also, in Orissa, in Madhya Pradesh, in the neighboring states, so that people don't have to rush to the major cities of the country, whether it is Bombay or Kolkata. It is not possible for every human being or every startup to run to such places, and this is how the idea of bringing up this huge facility in Chhattisgarh was very important for us. I am very thankful that we could create this kind of a value for our hospital, where the whole of the ministry, the government system, having a trust in our hospital, in our doctors, in our nursing care, in our treatment, that they have started coming to us and making it a brand in the terms of the cancer treatment. So I really thank to all our doctors to taking in so much of new innovative ideas of the to do the cancer treatment, whether it is 3D or whether it is the latest equipment or the latest technology in finding out whatever the difficulties many of the other hospitals are facing. We are passing through that through the expertise of our doctors. Soon we may be starting our BMT facility also. So I want to see in the next 2 to 5 years that Balco Medical Center becomes synonymous to the cancer treatment, and people talk about it and we become a brand. In the end, friends, I would like to thank all of you, your contribution as a team, and each one of you is very important in this health sector. There is no low person or there is no high. Even if the housekeeping person is equally important for me to any of the medical expertise which we have. I am extremely thankful to Dr. Badwe to to grace this occasion for today and to give us a kind of a direction so that where we stand today, how we can take it forward, what are his views in terms of Balco Medical Center. We are always there, sir, to hear you out so that we can improve ourselves wherever you think that we are lacking. I would like to thank our advisory board, which we have a robust doctors, Dr. Chandy, Mamen Chandy from TMC Kolkata. We have Dr. Sandeep Kumar. We have Anupa Shani. So all these people have really been mentoring us, taking us to a next level of where we can take our hospital wherever we are lacking into any kind of uh, services which we want to improve upon. These are the people who keeps on advising us on regular basis. I'm very thankful to all of you. And finally, I feel that without our chairman, Mr. Anil Agrawal, it is his dream, it was his dream, and it is his dream till today that we become one of the best centers in terms of cancer treatment. And because of his dream today, we are here to fulfill all his dreams and make it a reality. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
I have to start this. Yeah. Thanks for the message, ma'am. It's truly an honor to have you as a chairperson. Now I invite Dr. R.A. Badve for our annual guest oration. Padma Shri Dr. Rajendra Achyut Badve is a renowned surgical oncologist specializing in breast oncology. He has trained and worked in renowned institutes in India and abroad. He has authored a large body of research, including his new theory of cancer cancer control by hydroxyprogesterone prior to surgery. Dr. Badve is the director of Tata Memorial Center and head of the Department of Surgical Oncology. He is active in many important international and national health institutes, including UICC, All India Institute of Medical Sciences, ICMR, and Department of Non-Communicable Diseases. I welcome Badve sir to please start the oration.
Okay, is my presentation visible there?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes.
Okay, great. Mrs. Agarwal, the advisory board of Balco Medical Center, Dr. Anurag Srivastav, and friends. It is indeed a pleasure to deliver this talk today and also strike a conversation with you all so that we are all can be on the same page. The topic that I have selected today is cancer care in India, a hub and spoke model. So I'll try and give you an overview of what the problem is in India and how are we going to tackle it and where does Balco Medical Center stand in all this activity so that all of us in unison tackle the scourge of cancer. Before we tackle, when I say scourge, we're obviously looking at an enemy. It's good to gauge the enemy. And in general, the feeling is that there is huge amount of cancer and huge amount of non-availability of treatment. So both those are not very good combinations. So let's look at how are we as far as the incidence and mortality is concerned. So I'll quickly run you through. If you look at US or UK, the number per 1 lakh population per year is about 300. The same in urban India is about 100. The same in semi-urban India. Say if I were to say, look at the incidence in Raipur, it would be between 60 and 75. And when we go to rural pockets, it's between 40 and 50. You might ask me that probably we are losing out. We are probably missing out on some cancers that are happening in rural pockets. And that's not the case. We are running 3 rural cancer registries where we do house-to-house survey on annual basis to document if there are any cancers or if there is anybody who has died of cancer. And we find that it is low. Cancer is low in these pockets. But that doesn't put us in relaxed position for the simple reason that every decade, about 5 to 10% of population, the habitat in which they are changes from rural to semi-urban and semi-urban to urban. And within few years, the numbers start rising from 40 to 60 and 60 to 90 or 100. So these are the numbers which are frightening because of our population, which is about 130 million. So 1300 million, so not 130, 1300 million. But why are we different? Let's look at the numbers. If you look at prostate cancer, in USA it is 50 per 100,000. In India it is 9. Lung is 60, ours is 10. Colon is 55, ours is 6. Last one, the colon is essentially because of our fantastically good diet with roughage, spices. Large intestinal cancer is uncommon in India and it is extremely common in the West. Oral cancer is reverse. There are about just 4 per 100,000 in USA. We have about 23, 24 per 100,000. Breast cancer is again 100 in USA and 30 in India. The number in the pocket is from Barshi, a rural cancer registry, which we've been running since 1982, and the number is just 9. And as we talk, this number in the rural component of Barshi district remains exactly at 9 or 10. So there is something that is happening in our rural pocket where breast cancer is not on the rise. Imagine the difference between 9 and 100 in United States. So now it's about 120. Uterine cervix is in opposite direction, 7 and 24. Mrs. Agarwal did mention about vaccination, but vaccination takes on an average about 25 years to be effective, about which we are not too sure. But look at the numbers in Mumbai. If US is 7 per 100,000, Mumbai has just 7.5. We are no different by sheer urbanization to be different than United States. So number-wise, we are okay. We are not too bad. Let's look at deaths. India, 64 per 100,000. That's the number that dies of cancer. 64 per lakh. And the same number in United States is 105. So in general, we are better off than what United States is. But I would draw your attention to those who get this cancer. 50% live in India, and that number in the United States is 70%. But while we move out, that we improve our survival from 50 to 70%, it shouldn't so happen that our number rises to 300. It shouldn't happen that way. We should restrict our numbers to 100, which has been 100 for the last so many years. Maybe about 20 years it has been 100 in cities. If we keep it at 100 and improve our survival to 70%, 75%, I'm sure everybody in the world would like to stay in India, because that's the place where the incidence is low and the cure rate is going to be high. So let's look at how do we prevent this cancer or keep it low or screen. I would just take you back for a minute. I have written S for some of these after their numbers, and you will find that these are the cancers that are screened in United States. And obviously, it is the screening that increases a lot of cancers. Imagine 9 increasing to 50, 10 increasing to 60. For both these cancers, the efficacy of screening is extremely low. Even for prostate cancer, screening does not save lives. For lung cancer, those who are smoking more than 10 packets a day for more than 30 years, in them, there is a 10% reduction in death. Imagine what's the number it is. So it is this kind of numbers, and lung cancer is not very great here. So we shouldn't be screening for these cancers at all. Let me take you back to what I was talking about. Our cancers are less, and of these, 40% are related to tobacco. Mrs. Agarwal did mention that they are looking at an area to be converted into a tobacco-free area, which is a phenomenally great action, and that should reduce cancer remarkably. 40% of the cancers can be reduced with tobacco, and I'll give you some good evidence for that. 15% of cancers are obesity related. That's the scourge of urban India, the cities. I visit some of the schools for anti-tobacco drives, because it's in the schools that we need to let the children know that this is a scourge, this is not correct. And I find that all children are roly-poly. They are huge. And at the end of that interaction, when I have interacted with some of the parents, majority of the mothers have only one complaint: the child doesn't eat. And I sometimes wonder, how does the child become so fat if the child is not eating? But that's the mother talking. So I don't think our children in cities understand the actual meaning of hunger. Hunger is a word in textbooks. There is so much of food around us that the possibility of somebody feeling hungry is just not there. We eat because it is time to eat. I don't think we eat because we are hungry. But Suffice to say that obesity causes about 18 different cancers, and that constitutes about 15% of cancers in cities of India. 15% are because of infection, and all infection-related cancers are rapidly reducing. Even cervical cancer is rapidly reducing everywhere. I'll take you through some of the numbers further. But suffice to say that rural Barshi has a number which is 28, urban Barshi is at 15, and Mumbai is at 7.5. The same number as United States. And what have we done? We have neither given vaccination nor given any screening. So it will be better if we were to just teach personal hygiene, having running water and the availability of a personal bathroom, a bathroom where you can have a good bath. Imagine a rural male who has bath at a well, and he has his clothes still on. And what kind of personal hygiene, genital hygiene that individual is likely to have? The possibility of that individual's smegma harboring high incidence of HPV virus is extremely high. And his way of transmission is also high. So obviously that's the reason why the rural pocket has incidence between 15 to 28, and cities have it 7 to 7.5. Look at, you might say that may be because of something else. Why do you say it is personal hygiene? Look at our the Muslim brethren in Barshi, in rural pockets, and Muslim brethren in Mumbai. The incidence of this cancer, cervical cancer in Muslim community is 5%. 5% alone. And the same is 5% in Mumbai. Same is 5% in Dubai. I want you to understand that there may be so many things in religion, but if it keeps the personal hygiene appropriate, then why not follow it? I'm not asking people to undergo circumcision, but let's teach our children to keep the personal hygiene. In fact, while talking to one of the old individuals in Rajasthan, talking to a Marwadi community, there were some doctrines written saying that these are the duties of individual. Men should work and earn, women should look after house. And the grandmother had this job of teaching the grandsons personal hygiene or genital hygiene when the child reaches between 9 and 11. Now, why that? I was surprised to read that because almost till age 7, 8, there is a physiological phimosis. And if there is a forcible retraction to teach cleaning, the individual might get paraphimosis. So, and that's a complication which requires surgical intervention. So, teach around 9 to 10, and a personal hygiene taught at that time would save lots of people from cervical cancer as well as penile cancer. Both these cancers are rapidly reducing in India, and we don't need to worry too much about it. It will happen, but we need to teach. Let's look at tobacco again. 1 million deaths were due to tobacco every year. This is the 2010 data from Prabhat Jha, which was published in New England Journal of Medicine 2008. And what happens if we stop? This is the data from UK, published in BMJ. The top is the continued smoker with 15% of cancers related to lung and tobacco. That reduces to 6% if stopped at 50. If stopped at 30, it's 2%, and never smokers have very little, under 1% incidence of lung cancer. So obviously preventable, and stopping does work. So prolonged use of tobacco kills, and anytime stopping works. Let's look at the benefits when we look at tobacco use. Reduced cancer, reduced hypertension, reduced heart attack and strokes, reduced burden on healthcare system, and reduced all-cause mortality. There is nothing to ever say that tobacco should still be there. I remember talking to some of the farmers while talking about anti-tobacco in a district in Gujarat called Kheda, which was in those days one of the top districts producing tobacco. And the old man there, one of the farmers, the patriarch of the family, said that we knew this was harmful because this was used as a compound for our tobacco was used as a compound for their farm, and the compound would protect. Even the cattle wouldn't come in because cattle don't like the smell of tobacco. And tobacco also doesn't need any insecticide. Imagine even the jantu, the insects know that this is harmful. I wonder when will humans understand that this is harmful. Anyway, infection I mentioned, personal hygiene I already mentioned about. For obesity, we need to have reduction in the diet and a dedicated cycle tracks wherever we go, and wherever possible, if we can walk, I'm sure there can be improvement in our general body weight and reduction in not just cancer, but hypertension and diabetes too. So obesity, 1/3 weight gain between age 25 to 50 loses 3 years of life expectancy, whereas cigarette smoking loses 10 years of life if for more than 3 years of continued smoking. Let's come down from prevention to screening. But please understand, implementing obesity, infection, and tobacco, all three being controlled, the 100 per 100,000 cancers, 67% will be wiped off. Imagine reducing that 100 number to 33, and that 33 will have about 50 different cancers, which can't be prevented at the moment. So let's look at screening. It should be understood that screening can be implemented only if there is a reduction in mortality shown in randomized trials. Without that, screening increases the number of cancers, it increases incidence, and if we don't have benefit of mortality, there is no point in detecting something early. So these conditions are satisfied for cervical cancer by either pap smear or by VIA in women above 30 years of age, and for breast cancer, women above 50 years of age. Not for prostate, not for lung, not for colorectal, because we don't have colorectal cancer, and for any other cancer for that matter, we should not be screening at all. You will notice here that God has been kinder to women. Screening in only women's cancer saves lives. Of course, oral cancer is one exception, so tobacco-related cancers. So if we were to screen breast cancer through CBE, our own publication, which I will allude to, clinical breast examination saving 30% of lives, and VIA, both costing hardly anything, can save many lives. And in women and men who consume tobacco, oral cancer is obviously a focus of detection, early detection. The benefit of using visual inspection, whether for cervical or for oral cancer, and clinical breast examination, is that there is no overdiagnosis. We will not be diagnosing cancers unnecessarily. VIA, we published this in 2014, 150,000 women subjected to VIA, visual inspection using acetic acid screening for cervical cancer, showed a 31% reduction in mortality. Presently implemented in 20 states through Anganwadi workers, it can prevent 22,000 lives every year in India and about 72,000 across the globe. The same thing we published last month in February of 2021, the results of breast cancer screening. 150,000 women, half of them had CBE, clinical breast examination, half did not. No overdiagnosis, widely implementable, and has the potential to save 15,000 lives in Indian women every year, and globally about 45,000. So a huge amount of saving at a very low cost is what is unique about it. So how do we tackle when somebody gets it? Let's look at how do we tackle. We conform to evidence-based care, which I'm sure is available, and those wherein it is not available, one can even seek it through a program called Navya, and that's the website where you can access this. Put up your data on this website and you will get an opinion from Tata Hospital within 48 hours. And if that is same as what the local oncologist has said, I'm sure that much of relief for patients to undergo the same kind of treatment, that would allow a uniform care across. The second bit is specialization. when the numbers are large enough, one needs to specialize, and specialization itself improves the outcome by about 10%. 10% improvement in survival, presently we don't get with any intervention. Count your chemotherapy, count your hormone therapy, count your 10%, the hormone therapy does give that much of benefit. Count Herceptin, for example, the absolute benefit is barely 5%, upper limit 6%. But if you were to have uniform care across the country, we will save 10% of lives. Delays in access to care, I will allude to quickly, but suffice to say that uniform care through evidence-based management protocols is what is important to understand, and that will save plenty of lives. And can we do better than the best? If this evidence-based medicine globally is the best, can we better that? It was in 1998 that at Tata Hospital, we created an infrastructure to support research. And these are the results that have happened in the last 2 decades. We have had 6 trials that have changed the protocols and the way we manage cancer globally, whether it is progesterone for breast cancer, VIA for cervical screening, surgery or not in M1 breast cancer, management of N0 neck in oral cancer, CTRT versus CT surgery in cervical cancer, and CBE as late as 2021 February, saving thousands of lives. So suffice to say that if we have good infrastructure, some simple trials can improve our outcome to a great extent. Let's look at access to care, and I will now allude to my the topic that I had mentioned earlier of hub and spoke model. Before we create hubs at various places, and I can assure you, Balco Medical Center can be a hub for whole of Chhattisgarh, and we will, from Tata Hospital, strive to do so. But before we get on to all these things, we are running a program called National Cancer Grid, which allows about more than 200 centers across India are under this umbrella, and systematically spreading the way the cancer treatment is uniformly delivered across India is what the goal is, and also do research of national importance through these 200 centers. These 200 centers today tackle about 75% of cancers in India, which clocks at about 1 million every year. 1 million cancer patients every year is the total number of cancers treated in India today. So let's quickly look at the hub and spoke model. It's a distributed model wherein minimizing patients' movement. Nobody should move from close to home to Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai, Bangalore for treatment. It should be available close to the doorsteps, is what we believe is the best way of dealing with compliance to treatment and also success to the treatment outcomes. So a comprehensive cancer center is a hub which can treat all cancers, including complex cases, and I look upon Balco Medical Center as one such center, and spokes connected to the central hub capable of treating common and less complex cancers. Also, treatment that is planned at hubs can be delivered if it is chemotherapy or if it's radiotherapy at these peripheral centers. What is important here, the principle that we've used, is critical numbers need to be treated for you to get the best results. If I were to do 1 or 2 Whipples in a year, it doesn't lead to the same survival with somebody who treats about 50 plus. Then between 50 and 100, it may not change much, but that critical number needs to be reached. So for common cancers, there can be multiple centers, but for uncommon cancers, we need referral centers. So it is this, the focus area that I'm talking about. And if we have disease management groups, depending upon the numbers that we see and the number of personnel that we have or doctors that we have with us, we should be able to treat the best of the cancers with best of the outcomes. A hub is typically planned for 40 to 60 million population with a total of about 40 to 50,000 cancers. It's a 350 bedded facility. Approximately the capex is about 550 crores and running cost is about 100 crores. What is important here is that we should be treating the whole spectrum of society, not just poor. A polarized system that this is a poor man's place and that's a rich man's place is not sustainable for long. that also leaves the doctors having a lopsided view of disease. Their solutions are going to be lopsided, and we are not likely to find good solutions. The way we do it at Tata Hospital, we have the whole spectrum of society being treated, and that's the reason why I showed you those 6 projects that have borne fruits to save lives, and globally, the management of cancer has changed because of that. A spoke typically is for 10 to 15 million population, 10,000 patients per year, and 150 bedded facility. 20 crore is the capex, or 200 crore is the capex, and the running cost is about 40 crores. A great amount of it today with government insurance and some paying patients, we should be able to manage this. To give an example, in Tata Hospital, we look after 80,000 new cancer patients and 500,000 follow-ups. For this number to be looked after, we spend about 300 crores per annum. That's our running cost. That's our OPEX. With 30% not paying anything, 30% paying us 10% of what we spend on them, another 20% paying us 50% markup over what we spend, and the last 20% paying us 100% markup over what we spend. With this kind of spread, we are able to generate 270 crores. Imagine 300 crore is the running cost. We generate 270 crores. Government pays us only 30 crores. With 30 crores, we treat 80,000 patients and look after 500,000 on follow-up. This is 40% paying and 60% not paying. If that was to reduce to 50-50, I'm sure we can go quits as far as any reliance on taxpayers' money. So let me give you, on my finality, as far as a word of what we do here, which can be shared. As I mentioned, treat the whole spectrum of society. If you treat the whole spectrum, you're going to teach your students the whole spectrum of disease or the society as it is affected by disease and not a lopsided view. Delivery of healthcare is not a business, but needs to be treated like one. This is vitally important. When I say delivery of healthcare is not a business, the reason is that I cannot create disease in society. As a medical individual, I need to reduce. The purpose of my existence in society is to reduce illness. Unlike when I'm selling a mobile phone or when I'm selling a car, I want as many people to use. I can broaden my customer base. I cannot broaden my customer base here. I want to reduce the number of diseases. So from that angle, it's not a business, but it needs to be treated like one. Everything about accountability, everything about transparency, everything about QA, QC, everything that we follow in business needs to be followed here to the last word, so that we are able to look after, give the best of the care to everybody who walks in, irrespective of that person's paying capacity. In addition, look at somebody who walks in. I may walk into 5 showrooms for buying a car and exercise a choice that I don't want to buy a car. That choice, this individual who is walking into the hospital doesn't have. That individual is a captive customer and cannot be exploited. The third point is we work towards our irrelevance, which I mentioned, the reason why it is not a business. And for an individual, from all these factors which are for institute, for healthcare delivery systems, for governments, the top factor, factor 4 onwards, will I give this to myself if I were a patient? And if the answer is yes, I will give that to the patient. So do unto others what you wish done to you is a simple principle, works damn well with every individual. Efforts that we put in have to be unlimited and returns have to be in moderation. If returns are disproportionate to your expectation, ask that question. Don't you ask that question when the returns are low? Yes, but also ask that question if the returns are higher than expected. Obviously, there is something different happening there. And finally, happiness is an ambient state, and don't stop drawing happiness from small things. Unless, as we are busy, it shouldn't so happen that we forget what's so beautiful as far as I will I don't know whether this will work, but hopefully it works. That there are so many things happening around us on day-to-day life. They're so beautiful. And I wonder whether that's a small bird. A bird of the size of a sparrow. And look at the kind of sound that he makes, which is visible everywhere. We need to be completely, that's a word called coppersmith. But finally, what I wish to say is that one can be invisible at the end of all that. How do I stop this? Can I come back to the... Yeah, okay. Essentially, what I wanted to say is that there are so many things that are happening around us. We should draw happiness out of everything, right? From a kullad wali chai early in the morning when you finish your run, to the kind of birds that we see around us, to some nice things that happen at home while we are extremely busy, so busy that there is no time for mischief. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It was so enlightening, and we totally agree. This is something that we also believe in, that a hub and spoke model is the only model where we can cater to the society and reduce the cancer burden in the society. I would finally like to invite our medical director, Professor Dr. Anurag Srivastava, sir, to say the concluding remarks, and thank you.
Sir, thank you very much, sir. I will only very earnestly implore to be our Dronacharya, and we are your Eklavs. Do this and do hand-holding of our young staff, and strengthen our manpower, and in terms of technology, in terms of training and skills, be it in the diagnostic arena or in therapeutic realm. And this is great, sir, that you are offering this new concept of cancer care, a hub and spoke model. So please embrace us as your Eklavs and allow us to work in tandem with our masters, our gurus, our Dronacharya, like yourself.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you very much. I would just say that there is no Dronacharya here, there is no Eklavya. We are all equal partners, and the way human body, I think that's the best organization that is available ever. And the word that we use in biology is corpora for this body, from where we have drawn the word corporation. And corporation is one of the most successful business model that is working globally. And one of the remarkable things that happens in corpora is that there is liver, there is lung, there is heart, there is brain, there is spleen, there is intestine, there is skin. All that works in perfect harmony. Each of them have everything in their DNA to do the other's work, but it doesn't do that work. And at no stage, one decides to say that I am superior to the other. If the skin is gone, burns, the individual dies. It's exactly the same for each of these organs, and each of them, these organs are extremely vital. Nobody is superior. So let's be equal partners and get the cancer care to the best, to be the best in the world. Thank you very much, Anurag. And I look forward to, once the pandemic reduces, I look forward to visiting Naya Raipur.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So before we log out, Darshan here, I just want to quickly add on. Dr. Badwe, you might not recollect, but me and Mr. Venkat Kumar met with you 5 years ago when we were looking at partnerships and figuring out how to go about developing this hospital. Okay. So Dr. Anurag, in truest sense, Dr. Badwe, though he says we are all equal, has actually been one of the Dronacharyas who gave direction to Balco Medical Center and its initial steps. So Dr. Badwe, thank you for your continued support. And I would also like to acknowledge the continued support of Sri Shekharji Dutt, who is here with us as former governor, but has always been supporter of Balco Medical Center. And obviously the team in Raipur. It's not possible if it was not for the team. So thank you everyone and congratulations on behalf of Vedanta as a group, Chairperson Mrs. Agarwal, and everyone for incredible achievement of not only making this hospital a reality, but taking it beyond the reality to now an ecosystem level. Congratulations, everyone.
May I say something during this time that, may I say something? I'm Shekhar Dutt speaking.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So it's a great honor to have Mr. Shekhar Dutt, Dr. Shekhar Dutt. He's PhD in physics, is a very senior eminent IS officer. He served in the army as Major General during the Bangladesh War. He served as Defense Secretary of Government of India, and he was the chairman of the Chhattisgarh Development Board before the original Madhya Pradesh was divided into Chhattisgarh and the rest of the Madhya Pradesh. And he served as the first commissioner of Raipur and then the first governor of the newly created state of Chhattisgarh. And when I told him, I have been associated with him, having treated some of the family members. And when I told him that I'm going to Raipur, he was so much excited and he inspired me and told all about the stories, how Naya Raipur and how Chhattisgarh was created. And so I thought it may be pertinent to have some idea of how we can grow in the state of Naya Raipur. So Mr. Dutt, sir, please enlighten us.
Thank you very much, Mr. Srivastav, and it was a great opportunity to be here in this occasion and especially listen to Dr. Badwe, and also the whole gamut of, he took us through the whole gamut of different type of cancers and the development of the idea of hub and spoke, which is extremely important. I have had different type of experiences, and one of them was in the distant learning field when I was trying to get the most recent electronic development in India, and it started and ended with distant education. And then we realized that distant education could also help telemedicine. So hub and spoke, and India is very well connected with the satellite communication, and all over India, the satellite space is there. So you can have to and fro conversation. So telemedicine, and I think it would be a very great method of also getting early diagnosis and perhaps even guidance to young medical practitioners elsewhere to recognize the different and diagnose the patients. At the same time, I mean, while we are saying that we have got the best healthcare, best doctors in the world, and I also started when I was secretary in the Ministry of Health, this thing called medical tourism, and people from all over the world come to India for getting treatment because we've got doctors, we've got hospitals, and we've got the healthcare people who are amongst the best. Now, but despite this, our life expectancy in India is lower than Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, to talk of the South Asia. We are very low. Within the states of the country, on one end is Kerala with life expectancy of more than China, that of China, or that is more than 76 or 77. And on the other end, we have got UP and other states where it is in the early 60s. Now, there's a great variation between the life expectancy of people. Our death rate is 1.8, which is very high compared to many countries. So right now with 135, 37 crores people, our death rate is, is such that if everybody wants to be treated in hospital before dying, we won't have hospital space. So so we have to reduce our uh, uh, the causes of what makes our life expectancy low and what makes us vulnerable to different diseases. So one thing is very certain, that prevention is better than cure, but early diagnosis does help. And I'm absolutely sure that with the kind of hub and spoke arrangement that Dr. Badwe has said, it will be a massive improvement in this whole system of diagnosis and advice, and then treatment for the few who require the treatment or at time. And there should be again hub and spoke arrangement, that various doctors could come from centers like Tata Memorial to Raipur, and to go even say to smaller places, so that this enables the patient to get the treatment, and the specialist to give the advice and supervise the kind of treatment which is there, so that we can reduce the mortality. So this was my advice, and thank you very much for for inviting me to be present in this occasion.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and guiding principle. Now I invite our chairperson, Madam Mrs. Agrawal. I think she is joined now. Can we connect to Madam's office in Pune? Welcome, ma'am. Please, please. We need your blessings. We need your blessings.
Dr. Anurag, we are one family. I could hear Dr. Barve, just a small part of it. I was under some important appointment with the doctor only, so couldn't catch up. But that is the reason I had to send my welcome speech with. I'm very thankful to you, Dr. Barve and Dr. Dutt. You have given us some very important messages which we want to implement in our hospital. And I think that we should have a constant connect with each other since we are in the same field. You are sitting in the capital, the financial capital in Bombay, and we are here in the central of India. So let's have a good connect with each other in terms of how we can serve to the society. We can make it better, as Dr. Dutt has also mentioned, that how the mortality rate can reduce, how we can make our citizens more awareness programs and best of the treatment possible, how the longevity of their lives could be better with our treatments. So when we work together, we have the same synergies. We can pull in together, Dr. Badwe, so that, even our hospital, we will get, our doctors will also get some guidance from you, and we can work together. I'm very thankful to you, doctor, that you could spare your time and guide us and take us to a very different view of how we can look at this cancer drive into a different mode altogether. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your blessings and kind words. Thank you. So, Dr. Badwe, just to let you know that we have 170 bedded facility at Balco. So, do we fit in your definition of hub or not?
So beds is not the criteria. Whether you have the infrastructure to deal with all cancers. So it will be nice to know if what kind of infrastructure and what are the common cancers in the region. So if there is a population-based registry that finds out what are the common cancers in Chhattisgarh, that will give us allow us to create the kind of infrastructure that is necessary. Say, for example, gallbladder cancer. Now, this cancer or liver cancer, these are extremely uncommon cancers in Western India, but they are extremely equally common cancers in Bihar, in Uttar Pradesh, in whole of North India. And I'm sure even in Chhattisgarh, there may be more of these cancers. So if that's the case, these cancers need a slightly different kind of infrastructure. Say, for example, the availability of IR. Intervention radiology is so very uncommonly required for many other cancers, but for these cancers, if you were to treat hepatobiliary pancreas cancers, IR is a mandatory requirement. So we need to create that kind of infrastructure. So let's look at what can be done. And if we have the infrastructure to look after all cancers, the complex as well as common, then I'm sure even 170 or 200 bed hospital can be allowed.
Yes, sir. So we have a full gamut of the services as we have discussed, surgical, medical, radiation, nuclear medicine, and all diagnostics, including IHC, everything. Hepatobiliary is not as common in here as it is in the Gangetic plain. This incidence here is much very similar to the ones that I saw in Mumbai and in Western India. So otherwise, we are able to deal with almost 90% plus of all the patients who walk in here, except for neuro or some select soft tissue skeletal where we need mega prosthesis and all that. So we are able to deal with more than 90 to 95% of people who walk in here looking for a cancer treatment. But one more point, that since you are from Tata, I think hub and spoke, we need to add another level of a super hub. That will be centers like Tata. And because people from Chhattisgarh are not just draining to Balco Medical Center or to another centers at Raipur. A lot of them are draining to even Vellore, to Tata, to Kolkata. So from there also we need to start looking at how to reverse that flow as well.
I'm sure the reversal of flow takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
The number of individuals treated in the center, walking on the streets of that area, decide whether everybody is going to come or not. Till then, those who have money will go away at different places. But I'm sure it's only a matter of time when they understand that is no different and it can be carried out there itself.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you so much for the brilliant exposition, sir. We will want to stay in touch with you and take this further.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you, Anurag. And I would say that I look forward to visiting you in person once the pandemic settles.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And I finally congratulate you on your latest publication in February issue of British Medical Journal, the world-renowned journal with very high impact factor on very affordable, simple clinical breast examination, CBE, saving 30% lives in women 50 years and above. This is remarkable achievement, sir. And we want to take it further using CBE and VIA to the remotest village and primary healthcare center across the Chhattisgarh and neighborhood. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.